Today, I'll offer a 3-step practice to recognize the state of your nervous system and change it. But first, I want to talk about the why. So, when we get really stressed out, oftentimes we get dysregulated. That means we are getting overwhelmed, overreactive. We're moving into that hyperarousal or sympathetic fight flight state. But sometimes we move into a different state, which is hypoarousal, hypoparasympathetic state, where we feel checked out, where we feel that kind of freeze or numbing sort of response. Both of those states require something different. But what we generally do is just reach for whatever practice is most accessible or whatever practice is most familiar to us. And sometimes that practice will calm the system when the system does not need to be calmed. Sometimes it will excite the system when the system is already overexcited. So what's really important is recognizing the state of your nervous system and then individualizing your practice to meet that particular need. So I want to talk today about 3 steps. And the first step is what we just described, just recognizing the state of your nervous system. When you are dysregulated, what's most helpful is to bring in a sense of safety. We get dysregulated because we feel unsafe. It doesn't mean that we're literally unsafe or that there's a threat in the room, but some part of us inside feels a lack of safety. That's why we get dysregulated, and our nervous system is really just trying to keep us safe. And what we tend to do in these moments is try to talk ourselves into feeling safe, right? So if I'm aware enough about my nervous system process and how it works, and I start to feel anxious, I might start gaslighting myself and saying things like, there's no reason to feel unsafe. Everything is fine. There's no threat here. Talking yourself into safety doesn't help. We need to address it from the bottom up, meaning in a bodily way. We need to bring in a bodily sense of safety in order to feel that safety, because the nervous system is not really operating on the level of cognition. It's operating in like a felt sense of whether I'm safe or not. So we can bring in practices that help ground us and that help our bodies to feel safe. That's step 2. And step 3 is figuring out, well, what's the practice that I need to either excite the system because I'm feeling kind of checked out, frozen, numb, or to calm the system because I'm feeling like I'm moving at the speed of light and my thoughts are spinning, right? And so in that situation, I need to calm things down and ground. So if you'd like to move through the 3 steps with me, just take a moment to get a little bit more comfortable. Find your way into a comfortable shape. You can be seated, you can lay down, anything works. And once you arrive, give yourself a minute just to notice the state of your nervous system. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how much energy do you have? And here's what I mean by that. If you're feeling a little bit checked out, numb, heavy, depressed, a little out of it, foggy, you're at a 1 or a 2. If you're feeling pretty grounded, pretty stable, you've got decent energy, you're at a 3. And if you're feeling a little overreacted, overwhelmed in that sort of overcaffeinated kind of way, maybe anxious, maybe kind of spinny in the head, less foggy, more spinny, then you're at a 4 or a 5. So just give yourself a number. The next step is to bring in a sense of safety. So if you're at a 3, you might already be feeling this. And this might not be the practice that you would go for if you were feeling fine. Let's just pretend that you're stressed out. So there's a number of ways that you can find safety. One way is to just kind of take a look around the space you're in and see if there are any objects, a photograph, a plant, any kind of objects in your environment that bring in a feeling of comfort or safety or even connection. These are the qualities that help regulate the nervous system. And once you've identified just one thing that brings in a sense of comfort, give yourself a moment just to sit with it and notice not just visually how it feels, but inside of your body when you take in that object. Do you feel an additional sense of calm or safety? Can you feel yourself sort of anchoring to that object? We'll bring in one more helpful anchor, and that's to feel the places in your body that are in contact with support. So, depending on the shape you're in, maybe your seat is offering some support if you're in a chair, maybe it's the floor, maybe your back is resting against the couch. Just notice the places in your body that are in contact with support and invite yourself to drop a little bit more. We have a tendency to brace, to pull ourselves away from support. See if you can relax your body a little bit and let it really take in that support. And notice not just the physical experience of it, but whether there's also a kind of emotional experience of support that you're receiving when you let your body relax a little more. So these are just two anchor points to help you find some safety when you're feeling dysregulated. We'll move into breath, which is also a way to cultivate safety, but we can individualize the way we're breathing to move the energy in the body to either calm things down or activate a little bit. So just start by taking a breath and noticing the way your breath is moving. You don't have to change it at this point or be directive. You're just taking in information. You might notice how full or shallow. You might notice if the breath is mostly oriented around the belly or around the chest or the shoulders. Just notice how you're breathing. And then notice the length, how long it takes you to inhale and how long you take to exhale. And then recall your number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're on the higher end, that means you need to calm the energy in your system. Your exhale connects to that calming energy. It's a parasympathetic response. So let the exhale be nice and long, longer than the inhale if you can. And at the very bottom of the exhale, you might just pause for a moment on empty, just for a second or two, and really focus in your imagination even on calming things down, feeling the exhale as an invitation to relax and release tension. The inhale offers more energy. It's connected to the sympathetic system. So if what you're noticing is that you're feeling foggy, heavy, more numb, or checked out, then try to make the inhale a little more powerful. Drop it down into the belly. See if you can expand from the belly all the way up as you breathe in, and keep it the same length as your exhale. And at the top of the breath, hold the breath in just for a second or two. So you're just breathing, but you're directing the breath in a way that orients towards the direction your nervous system needs to go. A longer exhale when you're feeling hyper aroused, that sympathetic, anxious kind of state, or an even inhale to exhale with a little kind of leaning into that expansive inhale and making it the same length as the exhale if you're in that kind of numb, sort of checked out state. Just give yourself 5 to 10 more breaths, really focused on that particular way of breathing that could help either excite or calm the energy in your nervous system. and notice if your number has changed. So sometimes, if you're really stressed out, breathing in this way is a tall order, right? If we're feeling anxious, sometimes it's really hard to find a calming breath, and that can actually be stressful. So, if this breathing technique wasn't helpful, know that there are lots of mindfulness techniques that can help you excite or calm the system. And you can be really intuitive about that. If you're feeling really overwhelmed in that hyper aroused state, then doing intense cardio might burn off some of your stress, but it's not going to calm the system. So, that would be a good time to take a slower walk if we're looking at exercise or a more relaxed yoga practice, for example. If you're feeling that hypo aroused state, you're feeling kind of numb, checked out, doing a restorative yoga class is likely not going to change the energy in your system. You would want a more powerful practice or a more brisk walk. So, just thinking about how you can respond to what's actually happening in your system. I'm Rachel. Subscribe for more somatic healing practices and nervous system regulation tools.